The Gotham Season 2 premiere, damned if you do. I really liked this season premiere because I think after, the finale of Season 1, there was a lot of people, even just going through the season of Season 1, there was a lot of just up and down for people. Um, the season was I personally enjoyed the season a lot. I think everyone's favorite stuff is all the same thing. It was always the mob stuff. That was always first and foremost the coolest stuff in the entire first season. And so we get this season, takes a month later after the finale of last season, and I think it picked up at a very interesting point because we have Jim, who's a beat cop. He's the guy, directing traffic and stuff. He stops a dude with, I don't know what is going on with our new villains this season, but it starts off with who we find out is just this rich dude, and it's he has also apparently some crazy toxin based stuff that he gives the guy, and this dude walks around in a suit. He's got katanas on his back, which looked really awesome. When he pulled the actual katana out, the blade just looked really cool. Stuff like that I would notice, but it was a cool first scene. It was Jim. I didn't even realize it was Jim at first. I just didn't even notice it was him. And so we have the scene. He stops the guy, and then the other dude who's late. He's like, "Oh, have a rough day." I know some of the cops in Gotham are corrupt. I know some people, some like Bullock, kind of don't give a crap. But at least Bullock would have been like, "What the heck is happening? Who's this dirtbag or something?" This guy's just Subway. And it's does he not see what's happening? This dude has swords, and I'm directing traffic. You think I'm gonna stop that for nothing? And so he comes up man, what the heck's happening? And then they have an awesome scene where Jim has a spider sense, and he just hears one thing drop, and he just pulls his gun on those three guys. That was actually a really cool shot, and I think that was the start of a Jim that I really hope we get to see a lot more of. That's what I was hoping for after the season finale. I was I hope we see more of sort of out there Jim, not by the books Jim Gordon. He can do that when he's older because that's what he does. But for now, he has the strength, he has the cunning, he has, the need to kind of, play outside of the rules sometimes, at least. Obviously, he's the one who likes to follow the rules for the most part. But that was a nice little opening shot where he just pulls the gun. They have it the close up on him and stuff. And he just pulls the gun on three people. After, of course, he puts his gun away, on the guy who has two katanas on him. So it's kind of funny. I was alright, I got this guy here. Obviously, this dude's eating Subway. He's not going to help me. And he just, whips the gun out on these three people. And it's oh, okay, no glasses. So that was a great start. And then it was just, a decline for Jim this whole episode. It was him finally taking this step to playing outside of the rules. And they went really hardcore in this episode. I mean, they did some stuff I was not expecting for the opening. We got to see Jim kill a dude, which was probably the craziest scene in the entire episode. So I love that without a doubt. It was he just killed someone. He was already helping Penguin, so it was alright, he's already going way further than he wants to go, which was really cool to see that. And of course, they had him dressed in basically all black. I was yeah, they always do that on TV, but symbolism, I understand it. It did look cool too. So it was he was already doing that. He's running from the cops. Then he gets caught by the guy, and he turns around and just shoots him twice. And I'm you just holy crap, Jim just killed a dude. You're evil now. And it was just kind of awesome. Obviously it's Jim, so he's not evil, but he actually killed a guy, and it was just crazy. It was just a really cool moment. Holy crap, he's killed people before, of course, but this was he went into that situation doing something that was bad, helping out Penguin. So it was awesome. I love that scene, and he kind of moved past it fairly quick. We might get to see more of that in the next couple episodes, but he killed a guy in this episode, so that was crazy. And then Penguin going to the commissioner's place, and that was one question I had. I was I know we're getting Michael Chiklis in here, and I was I don't know if he's going to be the new commissioner or if he's going to be the new chief. So And I guess the guy who left was the chief and not the commissioner. I always mix up those two titles, but the guy that we all kind of hate because he's corrupt and he screws over Jim. So that guy, he's gone now. So we have like a promotion in ranks, which is really cool. But now that we have, our former commissioner who's now the chief, it's going to be interesting to see that dynamic work after the things that Jim did in this episode and after he made this decision after kind of talking with Bruce, like sometimes doing the good thing means doing, sort of the harsh thing at the same time. So I'm really curious how their relationship is actually going to work. Like how many times is he going to kind of really push the boundaries and do something crazy, which I don't think it'll be like this, but with how this season, which also this season is like called Rise of the Villains because even on the title of the episode, it's like season 2 episode 1, it says Rise of the Villains and then it's a colon and then it has the name of the episode. So the Rise of the Villains thing is like really the subtitle of this entire season. So with all of that insanity going on, with all of these people actually all working together, which is not what I was expecting. I thought the whole Arkham City, or not Arkham City, sorry, it's game stuff, Arkham Asylum stuff, I thought that was just going to be like, alright, some people broke out and everyone kind of just spreads out and does their own thing. But everyone was taken all at once. We got Sionis, who was actually killed, which really surprised me because, they've done some other stuff like in the last season when, you kill off one of the main members and it's like, oh, well, he's supposed to be alive to, basically go up against Batman. But he's gone. Sionis is gone. It seems like those are the only people they're killing off are like mob members. Because it's like, not super villains, so they won't be missed too much, I guess. So Sionis is killed off, but we have Jerome, we have Barbara, and then we have, like, the other characters, so I think we might get to learn a little bit more about. I was surprised that they did that with Sionis, though. I thought for sure, because it's him, that he would be a main part of this season, but he's killed off, and I guess you can't have 2 rich evil guys, so he's dead. So I'm very curious. I'm also incredibly excited to see what happens with these villains because they're like just an insane team now. It's not just they broke out and everyone kind of just does whatever. They're actually being guided as an evil team. So I'm really excited to see this. I think it's going to be a pretty fun season. We got to see the stuff when Penguin and Zsasz went to meet the former chief. And, like, they had the guard's head and stuff, and he's, like, playing with the head and everything. I'm like, that... It seemed further than what most of the stuff that they did in the last season. And I like that. I was like, I like this darker tone. It started off with a sillier tone when the guy, like, went out in the street with the guns and the katanas. So it started off with, like, a silly tone. They even had, like, sort of campy music a little bit. And then we have moments like Zsasz and Penguin at the chief's house. And it's like, oh, here's your, one of your guards with his head chopped off, and I'm just going to mess with his mouth and stuff. So, pretty interesting dynamic, for this season. Seems like they're really going to go dark, which I enjoy. I like that. It's Batman. I know this is Gotham, and it's way before Batman, but it's still Gotham. Like, that's all last season, all they talked about was how people suck and this and that. Crooked cops all over the place. That's still a big deal. Now it's going to be a big deal when Batman's a thing. So we still have, the same elements of Gotham that we have in the natural Batman timeline. So I think they're doing it really well. I'm excited for things to get incredibly dark and to see them kind of really push the limits of some of the violence that they can show off, which they certainly did in the last couple episodes with having like a serial killer and stuff like that. So I'm really enjoying that concept. We did also get to see the Riddler. We got to see him in a split personality phase, which was a very interesting scene because we got to see Riddler as we normally see him with Edward Nygma, who's just weird Edward Nygma. And then we have like the cool version, and he's like, he makes like a different face and stuff, and he says things very differently. He's like, hey dude, that's how mirrors work and stuff like that. So his dialogue is different, and I like that personality change. Like, it's actually pretty cool. And I like what they did with the mirror too, like when he's in front of the mirror, but he's still there even when the actor actually walks away. Because normally it's like, once he goes past the mirror, he disappears, but then we just hear a laugh or something. I really love the way they did that, as if almost like it was actually someone in the mirror. So that was really cool, and I'm curious to see more of that. I think it was such a small taste. It's a little hard to judge. I thought it was interesting because, like I said, it was weird to see this actor actually doing sort of a split personality. Like, obviously, at the end of the last season, killed a guy, he's gone nuts. So now we get, like, officially, he just has split personalities. It's like Edward Nigma, and then almost cool Edward Nigma, where he's just very relaxed. He just speaks like a normal person would. So, however that plays out should be very interesting. Of course, who knows how long the series is going to go for, but probably still won't get, Riddler by this season. That probably wouldn't be for, 3 or 4 more seasons. Who knows? But great start. I think it was interesting. Like I said, it was such a small sample of like the craziness. It was just a scene, so obviously we know, hey, this is where the Riddler's at, and he's insane. 2 personalities. I enjoyed it. I thought that was nice. Seeing Bullock working at the bar, I thought was pretty cool. We got a little bit of info on him and how he's no longer with the police anymore. I do think I saw a picture where he does return. So he may or may not. I don't really know for sure, but I know he's still going to be in the series. I know he's still a regular. The actor is, I can't think of his actual name, but I like that scene. He mentions he has a girlfriend who actually likes him. He's no longer drinking. He was working at a bar. He mentions he's never been happier. So I think he might be like almost like the elderly advice person, almost like Yoda, in a really weird sense. Whereas like Jim can go to him when he's having all of his issues, and he's kind of going towards being a lot more like Bullock was in the last season, where he has to do stuff like he did in this episode. And I think that'll be cool. And that probably, like I said, if Bullock does come back, that won't last the whole season. But even for a couple episodes, I think those could just be nice, funny moments for each episode where it's like, all right, this is the, sort of old partners portion of the episode. And it's like Bullock advice where in this episode, he actually did just tell him, like, don't be a cop. Like, I've never been happier. I'm glad you're done with it. Live your life and be happy. So his advice was actually pretty great in this episode. It was just like, hey, be happy. So in the next one, he might be like, oh, you did this. And, well, and he does make a joke. He mentions, like, you working for Penguin. Like, no, you shouldn't do it. You have integrity. Like, I'd give a sandwich to Beelzebub. So, still all the jokes and stuff. And it's still Bullock. Like, I do whatever. But I'm curious to see how that plays out. Like, how long we're going to see Bullock in this situation. If we'll actually meet this new lady. Because, of course, his old lady has been killed. She was just pushed in the water because it was fish. So, who knows how that's going to play out. I doubt he's with another, super villain. Or I guess just villain. They don't have super villains just yet. But I'm excited. I think this season will actually be pretty cool. I unfortunately didn't get to see the preview for the next episode. I saw like a tiny bit because stupid recorder always cuts off at the exact hour, so I have to always change that. But I think this was a great first start. I really enjoyed this one. I think the gore, hopefully, it wasn't like too insane and over the top, but they did have a decapitated head. So stuff like that, if they do darker things and they spread it out, it's like that was just one moment, but they could have like a crazy gunfight where we see a bunch of people get shot, or maybe we see people get stabbed, like, which we saw all of that in this episode. We saw a person, a head, we saw a person get shot, we saw a person just get like ripped up basically towards the end. It was just like blood flying on people. I was like, I don't know what she did with that little karambit, but she like messed him up. Of course she choked him first, it's like whip him around the neck. But I'm liking the new villains. We don't get to, not too much about them. Just a brother-sister pair. The guy, he's rich and he's known within the city as well. So he's a millionaire or billionaire, who knows. And then we have his sister who kind of does sort of the dirty work because they don't know her face like they know his face. So we have these two villains, a family team, which I think will definitely come into play later if one of them is really in trouble. And it will most likely be her because whenever there's a duo, the rich person is always the one who's like the main villain. That's just how it is. Even when they're way less entertaining than the person who does all the work. But that's just how it plays out. Either way, I'm excited. I think this was a really good first step for the season. Hopefully, it brings more people in. Um, Honestly, I think people could, like, based on how this thing started, I think this season isn't a horrible starting point for people. Even if they missed the whole first season, which I'd still recommend watching it because you get to see these characters build. This is a pretty awesome place to start where everything is already crazy. Barbara's already insane. She wants to, come after Jim's current girlfriend. They're living together and everything. Or they're at least in the same place sometimes. I don't know if that was actually their house officially and they're together, living. But I think this is actually a cool starting point for some people. I'd still recommend watching the first season, just like I said, to see the build up for characters. Um, I believe Butch was in this episode. I think he was in like the opening scene where Penguin had a guy killed by Zaz. It was like a tiny little shot. I don't know if that was Butch or maybe it was just Zaz, and I just couldn't tell because it was blurry. I just assumed it was Butch. So maybe that was him. Maybe it wasn't. I don't really know how that's going to play out, but I want to know what's happening with him. The stuff with Bruce and Alfred was pretty interesting. I like, actually, my favorite thing about that is when they find the letter and Bruce is reading the letter and stuff, and it's like, if you found this, I passed away, and you figured out that the combination is Bruce. I like the fact that he didn't figure that out because he's still a kid. It's like, oh, that's, if you were older, if it was adult Bruce Wayne, you would have easily figured that out to just try your name. And he was just putting in numbers and thinking dates and things, and he wasn't, really looking at it like, all right, it could be a word, wherever the numbers are placed. So I thought that was actually really cool. Like, oh, it was like probably the simplest answer it could have been, which is what we see all the time in TV. But normally, people figure it out. It's like, oh, maybe it's my name because they really care. And that's pretty much what it was. And it wouldn't be weird in this case because that was their only kid. And they didn't have, like arguments like you see in most shows. It's like, wow, I'm surprised they would bother with that because the parents and the kids argue. In this case, they didn't have the time for that, and it should have been really simple. Like, maybe it would just be their only child's name, and he just didn't figure it out, and he just, bashed the thing in, and then they blow the door wide open. So, I actually like that. It was like, the answer was so easy. It should have been so simple to figure out, but young, child Bruce Wayne, it's like he's just driven to get to the end without really thinking through how to get there. So, I love that. That was actually my favorite part of that whole thing. Pretty much nothing in there. Not really mini Batcave or anything like that. It was like some dusty computers and an incredibly well written note. That was some great penmanship. But enjoyed the first episode. I do want to know what you guys thought about this premiere, of course. So please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts, and whether you're giving this, this was like you're giving Gotham its last chance to, bring you in. Or if you're like me and you were just excited for season 2, I definitely want to know what you guys thought about this premiere, what you thought about, the new villains. Definitely Jim and what he chose to do in this episode to get back on the force and, get rid of the old commissioner. I want to know what you guys thought, or Chief, whatever, because I don't know why I always mix that up. I just can't ever remember. But I want to know what you guys thought about this premiere. Has it hooked you back in for another full season? Was this not good enough for you and you're done? I want to know, because if more people drop off, I don't think the show will get a season 3, because I think more than enough people dropped off in the first season. But I think Fox kind of gave it a chance, really, for a season 2. I think it did like mediocre to a little bit below average last season. So if people don't come back for this one, this will be it, I think. So I definitely want to know where all you guys stand, so please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.